I can pretend that I'm that sophisticated fan who only cares about exceptional talent and sportsmanship when he watches tennis, but that's just not true. If a player has a personality of a cardboard box, then believe me, I won't watch him. So here's my rearranged ATP top 50 based on the entertainment value. There is a surprise placement at the top half of the top 50, so be on the lookout for that. I will be brief in my explanations, but I will be active in the comments section down below. So if you have any additional questions about the placement, then ask away. Don't hesitate. But to start off, it's two Spaniards in the 50th and the 49th place respectively. It's Rafael Nadal in the 50th, okay, I'm joking, but for real, it's Roberto Bautista Agut in the 50th, Pablo Carreño Busta in the 49th place. I don't care how many Masters they win, I don't care how many top 10 wins they have, they will still always be those Spanish robots whose job is to gatekeep top 20 in the world. I just don't get how players that are so highly ranked can be so non-essential to tennis in general, so that is why they are at the bottom of the list. Next up is John Isner. He's just an old serve, but clearly it's not a good combination for entertainment, so there is not much to say here apart from the obvious. 47th place is reserved for Albert Ramos Vignolas. He just pops up on clay court tournaments, ruins them with his boring ass and then leaves. Adrian Mannarino is 46th, very inconsistent, pisses me off, so I don't put myself through the pain of watching him play. Number 45 is Yoshihito Nishioka, nothing personal towards him, but he just doesn't have the tools for exciting game style, so he's kinda low on the list, but I guess at least he's a good dude. Next up are Maxime Cressy and Riley Opelka, just two relatively young serve bots. They move a bit more than Isner, but not enough to make me care. 25-year-old Alex Molcan takes the 42nd place. His entertainment value matches his rank pretty well. In both of those categories, he's alright. Nothing more, nothing less. Two Argentines, Sebastian Baez and Diego Schwartzman, round out the top 40. Might seem a bit low for some, but I'm a notorious clay court tennis hater, I guess. So I just don't find consistent 40-shot rallies during the match entertaining, and that's why the ranking is so low for them. The best French player Arthur Rinderknecht takes the 39th place in the top 50. Similarly to Alex Molcan, he's just alright, but at least I see potential in him, so he is ranked a bit higher. Emil Rusuvori, Miomir Kecmanovic, Karan Khachanov and Botic van de Zandschulp could be lumped together. In my opinion, they are players who can get a good result, but ultimately it won't bring any excitement to me. Lorenzo Sonego is next up. He can produce exciting tennis, but his sexual moaning after his shots just annoys me. That's why he is a bit lower on the list than he could have been. I'm grouping players again, so Francisco Cerundolo and Alejandro Davidovich Fokina take the next two spots. They are clay court merchants in a way, but at least they produce intense, hard-hitting tennis that is much more fun than BAEZ's playstyle, for example. Daniel Evans, Grigor Dimitrov and Marin Cilic finished the top 30. Again, not consistent enough for me to be sure that I want to watch their matches. All three of them are in their 30s, so the ranking is fitting. The player that I dislike the most on this list takes the next spot in the top 50. And that player is Jenson Brooksby. This guy looks and reminds me of every single sleazy, privileged little kid combined into one, so he is truly unbearable. But at least I hate him that much that I sometimes hate watch, just so I can see him lose, and that's why he is relatively high on the list. Cam Norrie's playstyle is just not exciting for the casual viewer. Don't get me wrong, he is solid and is where he is deservedly, but it doesn't mean that I should be entertained by his matches. Brandon Nakashima, Jack Draper, Sebastian Korda and Tommy Paul could be interchangeable in this top 50. All of them are relatively young, so it's always interesting to watch players develop in front of our eyes. At this point they are in the middle of this top 50, but I wouldn't be surprised if my opinion on them would change in the future. The legend that is Andy Murray sits at the 22nd spot. I appreciate that he doesn't hide his emotions while playing. If something is not going well, he shows it. If it's all good, then he is happy. Of course, his tennis has regressed in comparison to his prime, but I still enjoy watching his matches. Hubert Hurkacz is scarily getting close to that PCB and RBA territory in terms of being great at tennis, but unbelievably boring outside of it. I am giving him a few years to change, but I am ready to be ruthless towards him in the future. Starting off the top 20 is Lorenzo Musetti, and I mean he has a one-handed backhand, and that's enough for me. When Borna Coric is on, he's very fun to watch in my opinion. He has a great all-around game, he rarely chokes, doesn't hide his emotions on court, isn't overly perfect, and is just very relatable in that regard. The speed demon Alex de Minaur might not have the greatest results at the top tournaments, but it doesn't change the fact that his ridiculous speed and agility is a joy to watch. He is an unique player on the ATP tour, and that is why I enjoy watching his matches. Alexander Bublik technically has an entertaining style of tennis, but unfortunately for him there is someone on the tour who can do almost everything a bit better than he can, so it's hard for me to put him anywhere above 16th. Matteo Berrettini is in the 15th, and even though he is one of my favorite players on tour because of his ability to beat players that he should beat almost all of the time, I still have to be objective and say that there are some glaring flaws in his game. Backhand that could influence someone's enjoyment of his game. Denis Shapovalov would have been even higher on this list if he was even a little bit more consistent. Some of his shots that he makes are ridiculous, but again, as I said, he is so inconsistent, which makes his matches hard to watch at times. And the same goes for Stefanos Tsitsipas, and even though I really dislike him, he is objectively better than Shapo, so he should be higher than him on the list. But most importantly, remember that he is a weirdo. And now on to the controversial one. I just don't enjoy watching Rafael Nadal play. And it's not even his fault, it's his obsessed fans' fault. I haven't seen a match in which Rafa lost and it wasn't for injuries or some other bogus reasons. It sucks the whole enjoyment out of watching when you know that some weirdos will always discredit the opponent. The protege of Rafa, Casper Ruud, is 11th. And as I have said in previous videos on the channel, he is just so neutral that it's hard to care about him at times, but I am learning to enjoy him, and that is why he is right near the top 10. To start the top 10 off, I am lumping two Russians, Andrey Rublev and Daniil Medvedev, and Felix Auger-Aliassime together. They are all unique in their own ways, and I rarely miss them playing in important matches. They are definitely the future of tennis, so it warrants their place in the top 10. Sasha Zverev is 7th. We haven't seen him play in quite some time, but he has huge game that brings him results and is exciting. When I am watching him play top players, at least I know that he is not scared of winning, and unfortunately I can't say the same about all of the up and coming players. In the 6th, it's a teenager who played astonishingly great end of the season, Holger Rune. Sky is the limit for this guy. And it is unbelievable watching players so young playing such tennis that will undoubtedly lead him to success in the future. Novak Djokovic is 5th on the list, just because he is too good and therefore many of his matches don't even have intrigue, so I guess Novak is suffering from success. Right outside the top 3 is Jannik Sinner. He cemented himself as one of the most entertaining players on tour after his all-time great match against Carlos Alcaraz at the US Open, and if you watch him on a regular basis, you will never be disappointed during his matches. And now the top 3. In the opinion of many others, Nick Kyrgios is the most entertaining player on tour, and I wouldn't be outraged at seeing the top 10 where he is at the number 1 spot. There is no doubt that his tennis and everything in between is a must watch, but I would be a liar if I said that it isn't overbearing at times. But I guess that's the lure of Nick Kyrgios, and that is why I am a fan of his. Frances Tiafoe is my favorite player on tour, and you can call me biased cause I don't care, but I truly, objectively think that he is the second most entertaining tennis player right now. He is competitive whilst at the same time he enjoys his time on the tennis court, and when I watch tennis I want to see players being happy. I want to think that players are living their dreams when they are in those big moments, and Tiafoe is the embodiment of happiness in tennis. And the most entertaining player on tour, in my opinion, is Carlos Alcaraz. And I feel like this should be a consensus pick for everyone. He's young, he has unlimited amount of potential, but at the same time he is already the #1 player in the world. His ability to get to every ball and attack from any situation is unmatched. I love how he engages the crowd after every single one of his ridiculous shots. You can never be sure that you have seen everything when you are watching an Alcaraz match. There is no one that you can compare him to. He is one of a kind, and that is why he is at the top of the list. So this is my most entertaining player top 50. Share your top 10s, top 5s, top 1s in the comments down below. Subscribe for more unique content, and until next time, take it easy, my friend.